The following presentation is a recorded event hosted by the Nutrition and Aging Resource Center on February 8th, 2022.
Welcome all. We're really excited that you've been able to join us this afternoon so that we can have some presentations from our current grantees. Hopefully this will help you answer some of your questions as you're contemplating applying for these replication grants from ACL. A few housekeeping items before we begin. We recommend keeping your video off. Also, if you set it so that you hide your non-video participants and exit your full screen view, this should make it so that your chat comes up on the right-hand side of your screen. Please stay muted at all times. You can ask questions at any time in the chat, however, and I will be reading those toward the end of the presentation so that we can get some answers from the grantees. If it would benefit you to have closed captioning, simply click on the CC Live Transcript button on the bottom menu of your screen. It should be the third from the right. Keep in mind that as we're listening to these grantees, if you are applying for a grant, it does not need to be exactly how these grantees have done it. There are definitely some guidelines within each grant, so please reference those. But this is just a chance to hear how these other grantees have done their projects and to hopefully answer some of your questions. We will begin with about a 5-minute introduction about the Nutrition and Aging Resource Center, which I am Erin Hoisington, the Aging and Nutrition Content Director for the Nutrition and Aging Resource Center. We will also then hear about a 15-minute presentation from our grantee and then have about 10 minutes for question and answer time. So our first grantee that we will be hearing from today at 1:30 Central Time is Tim Getty from the MBA Heritage Area Agency on Aging. The project is the Iowa Model Project, Innovating Congregate Meal Sites through the Encore Cafe. Before we hear from Tim, however, I am going to turn it over to Alex Bauman from the Nutrition and Aging Resource Center to introduce us.
Thanks, Erin. Yes, welcome. I'm the director of the Nutrition and Aging Resource Center, a cooperative agreement with the Administration for Community Living. I am going to share my screen and walk you through how to find our website, some of our pages. So this is the Nutrition and Aging Resource Center website. We'll put some of these links in the chat for you soon as well. This is how you can find tips and tools, any kind of resources. We will be doing a redesign in the next couple of months. So if you have questions on where to find things, please feel free to reach out. We also recommend you subscribe to our newsletter. It's probably one of the best ways to keep up to date with what's new on the website. We also have a calendar of events. So this webinar and others you can register for right here. We have a wide variety of social media channels. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and even TikTok. So lots of great things where you can learn, share, and connect. So please follow along at Aging Nutrition. This is our YouTube channel. As we mentioned, this recording will be uploaded to our YouTube page. Going to go back to our Nutrition and Aging Resource Center website. We made it really easy for you to find the grant opportunity. Right here on the front page, if you click on this, it will bring you directly to the Innovations in Nutrition Programs and Services Grant, Replication and Research Grant. So it was mentioned that there are 4 models for the nutrition innovation grants, and there are replication model toolkits available if you click right here. They describe each project and provide resources for the replication. So you can select one of those to replicate. And then when you click on here, it brings you to grants.gov, where you can find the grant documents. You click on related documents, the full announcement is located here, as well as FAQs, which are very helpful. Applications are due March 10th, and within the full announcement, you'll see that there is an informational conference call that's being held tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern from ACL, so they can answer more of your technical questions. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Erin.
All right. Thank you for bearing with me. I was trying to find all the right buttons to unmute myself and get myself off video. Like I said, our first speaker today is from the Encore Cafe, Tim Getty. So Tim, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Just let me know when you need me to advance slides, and I'm happy to do so for you.
Thank you, Erin. I appreciate it. And while the slides are coming up, I wanted to welcome everyone and also apologize because during a meeting today, I decided to have a bout of laryngitis. I have no idea where it's coming from. So thank you for this opportunity to present on this great project of ours. I almost said new. I can't believe it's been almost 4 years. And this is the Encore Cafe that was established in East Central Iowa, Cedar Rapids, and the Heritage Area Agency on Aging based in Cedar Rapids are in East Central Iowa. We are the second largest metropolitan area in the great state of Iowa. Next slide, please. And the introductions. What we did is it's a model cafe. It's a pop-up cafe model. And what we tried to do was to, Erin, is there a way you can increase that just a little bit more?
I'm working on that for you, Tim. One moment.
Okay. So while Erin's working on that, what we tried to do, we came up with a model of we're looking at trying to combat the methods, and everyone on this call knows all too well about the issue with declining congregate enrollment, congregate participation. What do we want? What can we do to drive participation in the congregate programs? And then also we did some studies and we realized we were only meeting 7% of the older adult population in our certain metro area. And obviously that was not enough. That was a big problem that we've had. And then also we wanted to combat knowledge of the Heritage Agency on Aging. We really tried to take a backseat and work with our providers. That actually was to our detriment. People didn't know what we did, services we provided. There's a lot of programs that weren't being utilized, and we used this program as a catalyst. Next slide, please. So the project overview was, like we mentioned, it was a pop-up cafe, and what we tried to do, and what we did do, was to try to work with different locations to add availability of congregate meals. So what we tried to do is we added a flexible time schedule. We're open from 11:30 to 12:30. We also we implemented a choice menu. We operated a salad bar. We use volunteers to serve all of the to pour the beverages. The older adults come in. They tell them that they're here. They check their names off. They sign up for the next meal if they'd like. They walk to the serving line. They get their choice between 2 hot dishes and sides, and then also a salad bar. And again, this was all pre-COVID. And then also we had the volunteers, like I mentioned, they poured the beverages like iced tea, water, coffee, milk. All the services were provided on hard plastic melamine plates, reusable silverware. We really tried to keep the disposable goods to a minimum to really kind of get that cafe feeling. We also added activities as well, such as nutrition education, nutrition counseling. We did add some cooking demonstrations with mixed results. And then we also tried many different things, such as trying to find volunteers to do those things. Next slide, please. Outcome. So we had some great outcomes that I'm sorry. We had some great outcomes. Some people that we talk with about the program is we can't afford to do all of this. Well, what I say is we can't afford to do it, but we can't afford not to do it. We know the need was there. We know that we needed to do something. Our contribution rates were right around $1, or region-wide $1 to $1.50. Within 6 months, our contribution rate raised from $1 to $1.50 to $3.50 to a high of $3.95. We opened up in a great looking park location. We opened up in a library and also a United Methodist Church, which were some great partners. We really started to reach those that need it the most. We really looked at high nutrition risk scores in our consumer intake forms. And to our shock and amazement, over 35% of our current consumers were made up 35% plus of our consumers. So we're meeting the need that we needed to. Next slide, please. We had some great ideas, and we also had some great ideas that worked out. We had some ideas that really didn't work out. Well, one of the quotes from Ken from Marion, Iowa, and these were really shocking. Sometimes I know I can speak for myself. I take my job for granted. Are we really making a difference? And this is a true quote. Before coming to the Encore Cafe, I hadn't shared a meal with someone else since my wife passed 9 years ago. It's like, holy cow. He actually he stayed in his home. He heard about this in our media blitz, our marketing campaigns, things like that. So that was Ken. He still participated up until the day that we ended up having to close due to COVID. Next slide, please. Sustainability. So this is great, Tim. We have all of this money. How do we do this? We have this money, we got this grant, but what happens after the grant? Lo and behold, we had no idea how well this event would go or this program would go. It actually, to our surprise, opened the doors for additional funding sources, additional grant sources. Also, like we talked about contribution rate, this program, proved that the Congregate programs, the Congregate services are not outdated. There's still willingness to participate, and there's very much a need. But then they also proved that they will pay for the experience. So if someone comes in at 11:30 and the volunteers saying, "Oh, we got to go," or taking the trays at 11:45, that's not going to be very welcoming. Again, it's really like a cafe. You come and go. We'll have activities at the end if you'd like to, some speakers, things of that nature. But then what we also did, with that increase in contribution rate, we also were able to continue to fund it through our significant increase in contributions. So that afforded us the opportunity to continue with the program and to continue to fund it, as well as using the Older Americans Act funding available through the Iowa Department on Aging. And also that we provided more meals. And then of course, with your INSEP funds and things, you serve more meals. The next year, you may get an increase depending on funding, things like that. So it was a really positive upward spiral, if you will. Next slide, please. Advice for others. The one key takeaway from my discussion is to, if you learn one key thing from the discussion, is to whatever you develop on your projects and with your grant application, try to not get hooked up on if the project is not developing like you initially thought it would. Sometimes that's a real bummer for us. Oh my goodness, it didn't work the way that I wanted to. I am so glad this project did not work out exactly like I initially thought it would. and that was great. We had some great opportunities for collaboration we didn't even know existed. That came from city government, that came from nonprofits, that came from the grocery store chain that we partnered with that provided the meals. Marketing, such as the city of Marion was so involved in the implementation of this project, they still are to this day. They provided us in-kind support of the locations, and then also billboards, put us into, they said, you know what, we just give you your information, and they put us in the Parks and Rec catalog, since we're partners with the Parks and Rec department. They had us present updates routinely at the city council meetings for those that don't know, that attend the city council meetings, to get it on the record. And they actually also asked us, since we're such an integral partner with the Marion Public Library, they asked us to testify on the need for a new library. So we never know how the collaboration develops over time, and it's actually really neat. It can be very frustrating and hard to work with at times, but just definitely stay the course. Another piece of advice I would say is don't try to do too much too fast. For example, one of the other key items is don't try to do the grand opening of your new location or your new concept on your first service day. We did a grand opening on Wednesday, May 5th at the park location. And then we started serving the 6th. The 5th was the first day that we were actually in there serving. And then we thought we were going to have about 80 people. Well, we ended up serving 135 to 150. And then the next day was a normal service day. On that Thursday, that Friday, we opened up a big grand opening of the Marion Public Library. And that was we were anticipating 40 to 60 people, and 100 people showed up. So it was a challenge. So what we're saying is take it small steps forward. When we opened our third site at the St. Mark's United Methodist Church in Cedar Rapids, we started and it worked out very well. We did some soft openings in the first couple of weeks in February, then had a really big opening the end of March when we reopened, or when we had our feet underneath us. People know us. We knew where the light switches were. We knew where to take the trash out, things like that. So baby steps, if you will, as like any other new concept. Next slide, please. And these are a couple of different resources. I included the link to the website that Alex was speaking of. And there's just a couple different ideas that we had. What part of the program was, we developed a whole brand for Encore Cafe. Everything, we logoed hats and aprons and t-shirts. You can see the logo in the billboard. That's the picture of the billboard I spoke of. On the ball caps, the logo was on everything that we do. We really did try to brand it to push more of the cafe model than the typical back in the day, where they put your Salisbury steak on the plate and you put the potatoes on there on the styrofoam tray and you moved along. We really tried to break that mold. There's also a picture of the salad bar. We've been developing that as well. That's a very big hit. I did not know we would serve that many beets in my life, but we certainly did. And then there's a picture of our first grand opening in Mile Park when we had 135 people come. And I actually did not anticipate this, but we had 11 media outlets, from newspaper to radio to television, covering the grand opening, which was just fantastic. Next slide, please. And that's actually all that I had today. And then I think the next step is any questions and answers, any Q&A that you would have. With the remaining time, I'd be more than happy to answer some of it. And I know there's no way I was going to be able to cover everything in 15 minutes. So
Tim, thank you so much. Yes, I really appreciate you sharing with us some really great tips. Being new to the network, I'm learning so much. So this is really good for me. I do have a question already. So how did you market the cafe to recruit the participants? We saw the billboard there. Were there other ways that you really reached out that you felt were really successful or that might be helpful for others?
Great. That's a great question. We had a couple of great opportunities. Some of them honestly fell in our laps. One of them, some people may be familiar with the Volpac mailers that you get with sometimes those annoying coupons and things. Well, someone on the Senior Services Committee so happened to have her husband own the local franchise for Volpac, and they actually in-kinded an ad in one of the mailings. We also worked a lot with our local media outlets before we let this go. Like I said, one of the things I may have missed is build your collaborations before you roll out the program. Don't try to build collaborations as you're trying to develop the program. For instance, we've been working with one of the ABC affiliate television station for a couple of years, and we would say, hey, this is what's going on, what can we partner, things like that. We used a lot of the terms partnering and collaboration, and that really helped. We're not looking for something necessarily for free. We're kind of asking. We had asked the city or the library or even the church for that matter, working with the churches or the facilities you're using, they would love to get the word out. We're still working with it, and we will be and again, we actually will be opening the Lau Park site back from our COVID shutdown on Wednesday, and the park has already put us in everything that we possibly can.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. Sorry, I was having trouble getting myself off mute there. So we do have another question as well. How many volunteers do you have working in the site, and how did you recruit your volunteers? Kind of a two-parter there.
Let's see, we're currently kind of in a transition with volunteers because we've been shut down for 2 years, and some of them have left us. Ultimately, at the height, between all 3 locations, we had about 15 volunteers. Some would cross over between the couple of locations, but at one time, we would probably have about 3 to 4 volunteers. How did we recruit? Working with, again, the partners on getting that we marketed to get people to participate in the program, but also volunteer opportunities. We worked with United Way. They have a website. Our local United Way has a website. You could post volunteer opportunities. We talked to other community partners that were looking for opportunities. We worked with schools. We worked with the Marion Public Library. They also have a group of volunteers. At that time, they had more volunteers than they had positions. So then they were saying, hey, you know what? We're opening this new project with Encore Cafe. We're collaborating. Let's see. They might be willing to help. So look for unconventional ways to collaborate.
Fantastic. Thank you. Next question, which partners are most important for this kind of project? I know you definitely mentioned about the collaboration and how important that is, but what kind of partners are most important for something like this?
Oh, that's a hard question. Great question. I would say the biggest partners are, and again, it really depends on your specific circumstance. One of our biggest partners was our food service provider, which this happens to be a grocery store chain by the name of Hy-Vee. They were integral. Without food, we wouldn't have a cafe project. They were very integral. And then also, I have to say, your host location in this point, the City of Marion and St. Mark's United Methodist Church, they were very integral, and they actually helped with the buy-in within the community, saying, hey, this is great, we support this. And then once they have the support, it will grow like wildfire. And in fact, this led us to expand into additional services other than the Encore Cafe.
Excellent, thank you. Another question, we have the question of, could you please define or explain what pop-up means?
Pop-up, that's a very great question. Pop-up cafe is meaning we don't have a specific, so for instance, at Lowell Park, they have a facility where they have tables, chairs, it's a kitchen, a serving window. That is not ours all the time. It's not like a senior center. So it's a Lowell Park Arts and Environment Center. They rent that out to other places. So 2 days a week, we are at Lowell Park. On Tuesdays, we're at the St. Mark's United Methodist Church, where other groups use that facility as well, not just us. And then on Fridays and Mondays, we're at the Marion Public Library. So we're kind of all over the place, so we're not in one place the entire time, if you will.
Great. Yeah, being able to kind of move around is probably really beneficial too, because it may affect the type of individuals that are able to come in proximity. So yeah, thank you for that explanation. Another question, how did you come up with the Encore Cafe branding?
It's a great question. I'll never forget how we developed the name. We were sitting around a table and there was a group of us and we were trying to come up with names. And we said, well, you know what? Someone had actually just said something off the cuff, like, hey, that was funny. Let's do you should do an encore. And we all looked at each other and go, after a half hour, we go, that's it. That's the name, Encore Cafe. And then the tagline, a second call to enhance your health, was stolen from the theatrical realm. The second call, meaning that's what Encore means, and then to increase your health, such as the balanced meals, the healthy meals, the evidence-based programming, nutrition education, nutrition counseling, things like that. And then actually a very interesting note on the color is, again, be prepared for anything and be flexible. I'm not from the city of Marion. I was only in there a couple of times before this. And we started talking about color schemes and, well, what color should we try? There's 2 school districts in town, and I did not realize there's a lot of animosity. And we were going to come up with like red with the curtains and things like that. Well, that's Marion Independent. Linn-Mar Community School District doesn't like Marion, and there was some fights. So we decided, you know what, we're not doing red, we're not doing yellow. We need to do black for an outline, but that was okay. So then we actually pulled a color palette or a color wheel, and we selected royal blue.
Great, that's a great story.
I hate to say, I mean, I sure wish there was a scientific way how it was chosen, and we asked all these marketing gurus. No, we didn't. That's how simple some of this. It was so simple. It was like, really? Okay. We were very lucky.
That's sometimes the best though, right? Excellent. Well, thank you, Tim. We do have about a minute left. And one more quick question is, how are you using salad bars, or how will that happen in the future, considering COVID and all that we know now?
Great question. We will not be, when we open next Wednesday in the first site, we will not be offering the salad bar to begin with. Twofold. One, we just don't know what COVID's going to do yet. So we are working to keep things with the within the nutrients and to access to fruits and vegetables and things. Our provider is going to do what's called salad of the day. So basically kind of what is on the salad bar, but already prepackaged and available when they get their meal. They just open the clamshell and eat it that way. We have every intention of reopening the salad bar. The public health department, and again, you talk about key collaborators. If you're looking at opening a dining site, really start working with your local health department before you start this plan. It makes things so much easier. They were comfortable with it, but we weren't necessarily as an agency comfortable with it yet. And we also don't know how many people are actually going to come the first couple of weeks. So it was a COVID concern, but then also a financial concern of, if we set all the salad bar up and only 10 people come, it's not worth setting a salad bar.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Tim. We're at 2:00. So that was very informative. Thank you to everybody who joined us for Tim's presentation.